the most powerful designer drugs are the digital ones we use daily. And we get high off them. One touch, tap, like, scroll at a time. You know, just like tech creators want us to. Use digital without digital using you. Learn more at sync.ithra.com.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome back to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and welcome to episode 6. Our guest today is Davey Lane, who you might know as the lead guitarist for seminal Australian band UMI, but also an incredible solo artist in his own right. He's releasing his third full-length record tomorrow, entitled Don't Bank Your Heart on It, and we're talking about that, as well as his friendship with Tommy Stinson from The Replacements, and why we're all suckers for songs about heartbreak. Here we go. Our guest today is the lead guitarist for Australian rock band UMI, and has worked with artists such as Crowded House and Jimmy Barnes. He's also a prolific solo artist, having released 2 solo records under his name, with a third being released tomorrow. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Davey Lane.
Hello, Simon.
Hi, Davey. How you going?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for asking. Now, congratulations on the new record coming out. Don't Bank Your Heart on It is out tomorrow. Lead single You're a Mirage is a great song to begin this new era with. It's a song of the illusion of love and heartbreak. Now, where did this song come from?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Well, basically, it was it's kind of about kind of giving your heart to somebody, possibly a little too. I don't know. Like I at the time this song came along, and at the time that the life experience that informed the song came along, I was in a pretty kind of like vulnerable place, and kind of. I don't know. Like I guess I fell in love too quickly and with the wrong person, and like someone's there one minute, and then you kind of turn around and they've kind of just disappeared, and it's the thing of the realization of the demystification of something. Like that kind of period of kind of getting to know somebody and falling in love with somebody, and that's like it's I guess euphoric is the only word that I can use to describe that. And when that all kind of turns on a dime and that person just disappears into thin air, it's a pretty for me anyway, it's a pretty traumatic thing. So of course. For me, it was just kind of making sense of that, and like this thing of going this inner dialogue of going, what did I do wrong? And then at the end of the day, you just kind of have to let it go and realize that like it was kind of like whatever the circumstances and however they turned out were kind of completely out of your control anyway. Everyone's been played before. Everyone's been like kind of like duped by what they thought was love.
Yeah,
and I'm not the first, and I'm not the last. So. So that's it basically. But that's as far as I'll take the therapy session stuff.
I know during lockdown you were doing a live performance of the song, and kind of referred to writing or singing about heartbreak sarcastically as a novel concept. Why do you think we as humans write so many songs and enjoy songs of heartbreak?
Well, that's a good question. I think, I think it's like I said. Well, like I said, I'm not the first and I'm not the last, and to have gone through something like that, and I think, yeah, I mean, it's just such a universal thing, and it's like and there are myriad like different kind of forms of heartbreak, and you know, like, and I think it's a part of the human condition that people, I don't know, maybe people like to hear other people talk about their experiences in it, and to maybe find some solace or some closure or some, you know,
yeah,
them kind of vent their own feelings maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just such a universal thing, and it's something that when I was writing this record that I was, you know, very aware and conscious of, and so, oh wow, I'm really kind of you know, exploring kind of well worn and well well treaded ground here. I mean, I'm not obviously not writing about anything that hasn't been written about before, but like they say, write about what you know. So,
of course. Do you find it, just touching on what you said a second ago, in terms of sometimes it helps with other people's closure or things like that? Do you find it helps with your own closure, or that songwriting can be cathartic when you kind of look back on what you're writing about or some of those experiences?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think at the time, I mean, these songs were born of a period of pretty intense pain, and I think that there is a definite catharsis in that, and you know, like, and I remember at the time, it was with a lot of these songs, it was like they just kind of spewed forth. I didn't even really think about what I was writing, and then, you know, I would kind of structure the song and write it down, and then like it was okay, like I'd kind of look at the lyrics before I'd go to record the song or like record a demo for it, and it's like, oh right, that's what it's about. And it's very, you know, obviously very clear, and you know, things are about very specific kind of junctures in my life, and it was absolutely at the time cathartic. But it's funny, those songs and revisiting those songs, obviously, because I've given them a few months break since I've finished the record, and between now getting the record ready for release, and kind of like, I mean, it certainly to a point does dredge up some of those feelings again. But I think but for I mean, I think but at least now, I think with a few months space in between that, I can kind of look back and go, okay, these I can kind of just look at them as songs that I've written now, rather than like, you know, like ripping your heart out and bleeding it onto the page, you know. Like, it's just like, oh, this is just a cool song I wrote, and I just enjoy singing it because it's you know, because there's, you know, because I enjoy, you know, I used to not enjoy singing my own songs because I was well aware of my shortcomings as a songwriter, and like probably more so as a singer. But for now, like now, I just enjoy enjoy singing the songs, and that's all they are to me now. They're just songs, and especially once. And with You Are a Mirage, that was one song that was ruminating in my brain for a long, long time, right up until the day that it came out, like a few weeks ago. And I don't think I've listened to it till then. It's a funny thing. It's like once it's out in the ether, it's like, that's done now. I can kind of like, obviously I'll have to play that song in future when shows roll around, but I think it's almost like it belongs to the cosmos now. So it's something that I've kind of like just like relinquished control of, if that makes any sense.
Of course, yeah. The record itself is quite to be expected from a man like yourself. It is quite rock focused. And are you looking forward to getting out onto the road and playing these songs when you can?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously we don't need to go into the ins and outs of what this of this year. I think everybody knows. Everyone's aware. They don't need a couple of blokes talking about what a crummy year it's been. So I mean, I think it's just like, but I have really missed playing shows, obviously, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And in terms of it being this record being more of a rock album, yeah, there are definitely like kind of like unabashed rock elements to it, and it's something that I always used to shy away from with especially with the first few things that I put out as a solo artist, because I felt back in the day I used to have a band called The Pictures, and we were kind of lumped in at the time because we're a band of the early 2000s. We're kind of lumped in with that whole kind of like Jet and the Vines and the new rock revolution kind of thing. And I never really felt like I fit in to that entirely, which is kind of which I guess might sound facetious, because I've the band that I've been in for 21 years, UMI, we're a rock band basically, but I mean, I was always at pains to kind of separate what I did as a solo artist to that. But this record was more informed by, as we've discussed, informed by life experiences rather than kind of like trying to go for a particular style or a particular thing. So it has been fun just to go, oh, fuck it, I'm gonna make a song that sounds like Cheap Trick, or a song that sounds like Beastie Boys via Regurgitator or something like that. Like it's kind of just fun, just letting one's freak flag fly.
I think that's maybe the best way to do it. Kind of, you get the best results when you're not putting yourself under that microscope.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if you're not if you're not just following whatever your heart wants you to do, unless you go into a project with a certain focus and a certain vision of a narrow kind of parameter of a vision of what it has to be, then I think I mean, and record, for me, putting out records under my own name, there's no one. I don't know. I like kind of messing with the expectation of what people think it's going to be. Like, people think that like if I make a solo album, it's going to be a solo album by the guitar player in UMI, so it's going to sound like UMI. And even though I will always wear that stuff on my sleeve as well, I like kind of messing with the expectation of what people would expect from me.
Davey, the record itself has been billed by yourself as your dream mixtape due to the guests you have on the record. Was it always your intention to have quite a few guests on the record, or did it just kind of happen organically?
It really happened organically. Up until it's funny, like, because obviously the thing of records, like albums that have feature artists on it. Ironically, it's something that always kind of got on my goat. I always felt there was a kind of a real element of gratuity to it, like of going, here's this person, and we're just going to get this more famous person to just do a little, just to fucking
feature.
Toasting, just do a bit of toasting in the middle of something, and there you go. And I always found that to be I don't know, a little kind of, I don't know, advantageous is probably not the right word, but I was so why I made a 180 degree about face on that, I'm not entirely certain, but for me it was, I mean, like I say, like the idea of this record being a mixtape of sorts, for me, I mean, I'm a massive, like, first and foremost, all my decisions that I make in terms of, like, you know, who I play with, or you know, the music that I make, or, like, you know, are all based on me, on first and foremost being like a huge fan of music, and it's like, well, do I, you know, like, so for me the idea of involving like you know, guys like Todd Rundgren or Robin Hitchcock, who are both like who are both like have both worked with over the years, but like first and foremost, I've always been.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
A huge fan of those guys, and they're kind of musical heroes of mine. So for me, it's just more the thrill of as a music fan, kind of going, wow, like it's like a, you know, like for me, the song that Todd Rundgren is on, it was me kind of in a roundabout way, like, you know, writing a song that was in a little way a bit of a doff of the cap to Todd, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool just to go straight back to the source and see if he, you know, and thankfully all these folks kind of, and in the case of Jimmy Barnes, I've played with Jimmy on and off for about 15 years, and you know, he's like an uncle to me, you know, like, and for me, the song that he's on, it was a case of, like, you know, I'd written this song that was kind of like, had this Beastie Boys-ish kind of, like, you know, big dumb rock riff with a hip hop beat underneath. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if Jimmy Barnes sung on this? So it was more just like, kind of like, wouldn't it be cool if, like, and seeing if I could get away with that, and so it was kind of like a bit of a fun musical experiment.
Nice. As you mentioned, some of the guests include Jimmy Barnes and Robin Hitchcock, as well as Stu from King Giz and Chris Chaney from The Living End. One collaboration I'd love to talk about is Tommy Stinson from The Replacements. How did that collaboration come about?
Yeah, well, that I've been playing with Tommy I've known Tommy for about 15 years now. I met him in Melbourne. He was actually playing in Guns N' Roses at the time, and he came out to Melbourne, and my girlfriend at the time had played, her band had played shows with his band in the States, and so basically he was in Melbourne, and we just took him out drinking, and, you know, I've always been, well, I say always, but I guess since I've been in UMI, it was part of, you know, it was with Tim, it was kind of part of the, you know, initiation into the band. It's like, have you heard of a band called The Replacements? I was like, I haven't heard much of them. And he's like, well, you have to listen to them. So I've, you know, the penny dropped with that band for me pretty quickly. And yeah, I'm just such a same thing. I'm just such a huge fan of that band and everything that, you know, everything that not only Paul Westerberg's done solo, but Tommy's solo stuff is really, really good. And we've just kind of kept in touch over the years, and it was via him. We're actually on tour in the country with UMI, and I got a message, and it was from Tommy, and it was like, "Oh, what are UMI doing in mid-June?" Like knowing full well that the Replacements were playing in the UK in mid-June. So I happened to be like sitting next to Tim, and we kind of like flipped our lids when we realised what he was asking. So we flew over and got to play with the Replacements, and that was. I mean, we never thought we'd ever get to see the Replacements, let alone play with them. So that was a thrill. And so I mean, it was. I've kind of just had kept up with him over the years. He was actually meant to be coming out to Australia in May of this year, and he was actually going to record his parts for the song while he was out here. So once you know what happened and everything went to the you know what, he's pretty au fait with kind of long distance kind of that file sharing kind of thing. So I just sent him over the song, and he threw down some like thundering bass, and it was, and again it was like, it was one of those wouldn't it be cool if things. It was like I'd made this song that was kind of like a big bombastic 70s rock, orchestral rock, like kind of, Cheap Trick / ELO kind of doff of the cap. And I thought, fuck, wouldn't it be cool if Tommy Stinson played bass on this? So again, it was just another one of those things moments. That, yeah.
Nice. It I won't dwell on you know what too much, as you said. I'm curious with all the extra time that people have had this year for a certain reason or another. Did you find yourself writing more, or was it something? I know some people have felt pressured that they had to write, or
absolutely, and that's one thing that's really frustrated me with this time of that pressure being placed on people to either be creative or, I remember that thing of on some, I rarely watch the TV, but flicking on some stupid kind of serial TV show, and they're like, oh, everyone's going to come out of lockdown and everyone's going to be trim and toned, and everyone's going to be like, super fit, and everyone's going to like emerge out of this like butterflies. And it's like, how damaging a kind of a notion is that to kind of place on people to kind of come out. This is it's been a traumatic time for everybody, and I think just getting to the end of it and starting again is going to be good enough. Yeah. And I think, I've spoken to a lot of people who have in on both sides of the coin been incredibly creative and felt like that they felt this pressure of being forced to be creative and not really feeling it. And either is completely 100% valid. In my own case, I'm really lucky that I've all my recording gear is at home anyway. So I've definitely got the makings of another record. And also just I've been doing the odd thing of just recording covers for fun and just throwing them up without any kind of regimented thing, but just whenever I felt like, you know, if I heard a song that I'd loved, and it's like, we'll have a crack at that. And, you know, all guitar players are frustrated drummers, so I've got my drums set up, and I enjoy having a bash. So yeah, just kind of layering up all the instruments myself, and yeah, but I've definitely got ideas for a new record, and yeah, like kind of like just lots of fruity little, like there's an instrumental on the record on Don't Bank Your Heart on It, which is called I'll Look Inside, which is just like a little 1 minute synth instrumental, and that will probably set the tone for what I do next. It would be some sort of like fruity, wobbly 70s synth exploration, possibly self-indulgent, but that's kind of like, that's kind of a little glimpse as to where it might head, I think.
I was going to just say, as you said before, in terms of when you are releasing something as Davey, the guitarist from UMI, it's good to subvert expectations, and I think that a synthy 70s woozy kind of rock record would do that. So I think that sounds very exciting. That sounds great.
Oh, absolutely, and it's fun. It's fun for me to you know, just to try and harness things that I've not, you know, like for me to kind of work out. Yeah, learn how to, like, you know, I've got a couple of synths, but I don't really know how to use them. I just flip a bunch of buttons and go, oh, that sounds cool. So just to kind of figure out what I'm doing, and like, you know, hearing some of those kind of really like interesting synth records like Mort Garson and just to like to hear those kind of records of that era where they've truly like harnessed what they can do with that kind of stuff, like you know, with and still keep it interesting for the listener, of course, but yeah, like I think that'll be a fun direction to go in.
Beautiful. Davey, are you happy to talk about your playlist?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of your picks was Amel and the Sniffers with Some Mutts Can't Be Muzzled. Do you think that Amel, along with bands like King Giz at the moment, that there's a bit of a rock resurgence going on in Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's completely different from the, yeah, I mean, it's just great to see young bands that are like, they kind of, you know, with Amel, they kind of like imbued the spirit. There's obviously something very Australian about them, and they just, yeah, like they just imbue the spirit of, you know, for me, yeah, like obviously it's an easy comparison to draw because of the haircuts, but like Lobby Lloyd and the Coloured Balls and things like that, they're not that they're entirely like that, but there are like little glimpses, musical glimpses of that in there. And of course, like, you know, like, I mean, it goes without saying that, you know, Amy Taylor's just a fucking incredibly charismatic front woman, and yeah, I mean, I'd heard a few things from that band, like the first couple of EPs, and you could tell that they were a band that were kind of heading somewhere. But that was the first song that I heard that of theirs that really kind of blew my head off. It's just got that kind of unrelenting guitar riff, and yeah, I think like Deck, the guitar player from Amel and Sniffers, he's probably one of my favourite guitar players in Australia at the moment. He's just there's no kind of, you know, there's no pretension about him, and he just plays like a fucking demon, and it's, yeah, I mean, it's great. Like, I mean, having spoken to him as well, he's you know, he's a student of all you know, obviously all the great Australian guitar players like your Angus's and your Ian Mosses and all that kind of thing. But he's just got, I think he's just really got his own kind of thing. But yeah, it's just a great band and a great song.
Nice. You've also got Gratitude by the Beastie Boys on here. What is it about the Beastie Boys that you enjoy or that you get into?
Well, I think for me it's yeah. I mean, I've always loved the Beastie Boys, but for me, like just the notion, the idea of that record, Check Your Head, is just there are these guys, and when you know the story about them having kind of been like, kind of put together the whole Rick Rubin and Simmons, what's his name? Def Jam, anyway.
Richard Simmons, yeah. The whole thing of them kind of being put together almost as a construct, and then the about face of them going, "Fuck you, we're gonna make," and then they went and made Paul's Boutique. But that record, yeah, I just love that record because it's them going, okay, we've been fiddling around with MPCs and sequences and samples and all that kind of thing, and just getting into a room and learning from the ground up, like how to be a band, and there's just something so visceral about the sound of that, and that's always been one of my favourite Beastie Boys songs. But there's a clip of them playing Sabotage on Letterman or something like that, and that is like that's for me is without fail like a go-to, like hairs stand up on end kind of rock rock music on TV kind of moment. But yeah, Gratitude is just it's just a groove, man, and that was a pretty a big influence for me when I was writing the song "Got Your Money on Your Mind," and and just the video clip is just so cool too. And obviously it's a nod to Pink Floyd's Live at Pompeii, but it's just such a it's just cool. Cool in a way that I can't, obviously right now can't articulate. No, I get what you mean. I do understand what you mean. They're very good, both like video, artwork, music-wise, just kind of having a pastiche of different influences and everything, and put it together and it makes it work. And
a band with, and that's the thing for me, like a band with a sense of humour, and I don't mean like a sense of humour as in being like a novelty band, but I mean which kind of like is ironic given that their first big hit is kind of a novelty song, but like for me, a sense, like having a sense of humour is so important, and that's something that I think in my, when I make my own music, it's kind of like I do have my earnest moments, but there's always got to be a little kind of, even if it's just like a little musical joke here and there, like but I think the Beastie Boys harness that perfectly.
Yeah, they do it very well. Davey, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
And that's our show. Thank you again to Davey Lane. His third record, Don't Bank Your Heart on It, is out tomorrow. Singles You Were a Mirage and Acceptance are available now on all streaming platforms. If you're interested in buying the record, we've included a link to Davey's web store in the show notes. We also want to give a quick shout out to Daryl, Naz and Tess at Six Boroughs for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of Davey's picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday morning with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Until next week, cheers.